What's going on, everyone? Welcome back to another episode of AKP Sports Talk. As always, I'm Ari here with Korea. We got two really exciting games coming up on Sunday. A lot of college basketball this weekend. We're that much closer to the MLB season, spring training. How are you doing today, Korea?
I'm good. I'm good. I mean, you talked about it. Championship Sunday is right around the corner in a couple days. We have some interesting matchups. The lines for this weekend have been absolutely crazy. I mean, I've seen it gone from Cincinnati +1 all the way to Kansas City -1.5 just because of Mahomes' injury. It's been all the way up and down all around. So, definitely a very intriguing weekend. I think that's going to be one of the bigger games everyone is tuning into. We also got you mentioned the MLB. We have pitchers and catchers reporting soon. Spring training right around the corner, and we just found out the All-Star starters for the NBA for the All-Star game, and that's already coming up soon. So it's a very exciting time. But I mean, I'm ready for this Sunday because this Sunday is going to be definitely one of the more intriguing NFC and AFC championships we've had in a really long time.
Yeah, we'll just get right into it. 49ers at Philadelphia Eagles. For the first game right now, Eagles are a 2.5-point favorite. Over understanding at 46.5. Obviously, I think most would consider these two teams to be the top two teams, in the NFC, and that's what we get in the NFC Championship. Who do you like here, Korea, in terms of straight up any props you like and all of that?
Yeah, so obviously this is pretty much the two best teams in the NFC, as you said. You have the Niners, right, who, they've been not carried by their defense, but their defense has done amazing this year. They have the number one, total defense in the league. Their run defense really gets it done, up front. The pass rush is so lethal, obviously, with Nick Bosa, Javon Kinlaw, Reek Armstead, all those names on that front line, right? And then you got to realize the linebacker core is absolutely ridiculous too, with the way that Dre Greenlaw and Fred Warner just complement each other. They're basically, it's like, people are saying it's like Patrick, it's like Navarro Bowman and I forgot who's the other, I think it was Patrick Willis or someone, I forgot his name, back in the early 2000 mid 2010s, when they were that scary duo in the middle. It's kind of like that all over again. And the Niners have proved it. Obviously, their secondary has been one of the key questions. Obviously, with CeeDee Lamb, he had a big game last week. Even though the Cowboys just came up a little bit short, it wasn't due to the pass game. I mean, the pass game from a wide receiver's perspective, it was just frustrating for Dak because the pass rush was getting to him. But it looked like the Cowboys were just missing one thing, and that was a really good front O line. And the Eagles, the thing that I like about this Eagles team is that, they are, I think, the most complete team, as we look at this, as we look to Championship Sunday. I mean, you have the Niners, right? And yes, people are loving Brock Purdy and, the hype is there and, it's real, but you cannot sit here and say that Jalen Hurts is worse than Brock Purdy. And I've seen so many people this week say that Brock Purdy's better, and I think that's such BS because, I saw a tweet come out this week and saying that if we're going to give Brock Purdy a chance to be Offensive Rookie of the Year for the 7 games that he played in the regular season, why were they not doing that for Breece Hall when he was the number one running back out of all the rookies until he got injured? And, it's a small sample size. And this is the thing. Brock Purdy has not faced, a true road environment defense like this because the Eagles secondary is the best in the country. They do not allow – I think they haven't allowed more than 220 passing yards to a quarterback at home since Kirk Cousins in week 2. And that's why I'm also – one of my props I was going to get into that is taking Brock Purdy's passing yards under. Right now it's at 220. I'm taking under that. And but I just feel like I don't think Brock Purdy really knows, or this Niner team knows what's going to be coming when they head to Lincoln Financial, because you can obviously say that the Eagles are in terms of their defense, it's not as great as the Niners. And you can make all these comparisons. But when it really comes down to it, this Niners defense, even if you try and stop the run game, they still have they got Devontae Smith and AJ Brown, and Dallas Goedert. That's a three receiver duo right there. Dallas Goedert is pretty much a receiver at this point because of what he has been doing, and that's where the Eagles are so dangerous. And if you try to stop the pass game, the run game will get going with Jalen Hurts because he has that dual threat ability, and Miles Sanders. They still have they still have Boston Scott still there. Kenneth Gainwell. Excuse me, sorry, I'm a little sick, but I definitely will say obviously there's a little bit of personal animosity to this, but I am go birds, fly Eagles fly. I think I think right now it's Philly minus 2.5. I'm taking that. I think that this Eagles team at home is definitely it's definitely a very scary environment. And obviously it's an NFC championship, big time game. I checked the weather. Yeah, I even checked the weather. And it's going to be like 50 at Lincoln. So it's not going to be too cold, but I don't know if Brock Purdy is going to be able to handle that true environment, a really good pass defense. And, even though they struggle on the ground, and who knows the health of Christian McCaffrey right now, obviously I think it's his hamstring that is still a little banged up, and who knows the true health of him, Brock Purdy is going to have to throw it eventually. And, whether it's directed to Debo or, whoever target is, I just don't know if this Niners team has enough offensively to really match what this Eagles offense can do. And so score prediction, I'm going to go 27-24 Eagles. I think it's going to be really close. These two teams play a similar kind of style, in terms of how they do the pass game, checking down to the tight end, or, more in the air for Jalen Hurts with the deep pass to AJ Brown or Devontae Smith, whoever's, the first one open. We saw it last week where, that first big play off the first drive for Philly, and, Hurts just throws that ball over the middle deep to Devontae Smith. And, once he gets going, it's dangerous. And he didn't really get going last game either. I mean, it was more of the ground game, as we mentioned, against the Giants. But, now it's the Niners, obviously, who have one of the better run defenses in the NFL. Now Jalen Hurts gets to use his arm again, and it's dangerous. So I am taking Philadelphia minus 2.5. I'm putting that on my bet slip along with a Jalen Hurts anytime TD. I feel like he's definitely going to be getting in the end zone, whether it's on a scramble or maybe at the goal line. I'm also taking AJ Brown's over in yards. You mentioned, I think you had a post about this, but I mean, what I've seen from this Niners secondary, Javarius Ward has not looked good against these top number one receivers. DK Metcalf had 10 receptions, 100+ yards, same for CeeDee Lamb. And, now they're facing AJ Brown, who has that similar big body build as to DK. And I feel like, that over is a lock. So I'm taking that as well. And I'm also taking Brock Purdy's under in yards. As I mentioned, Brock Purdy, it's not due to anything he's done, but obviously he struggled last week against the Cowboys secondary, didn't even get to 215 passing yards. And, now he kind of has to do the same thing against a better secondary who has not allowed a 220-yard passer at home, like I said, since Kirk Cousins all the way back in week 2 of the NFL season. So those are my bet slips, but props. But I'm taking the Eagles 27-24. I think it's going to be a really exciting game. It's going to come down to the end. But the Niners come up just short, and the Eagles are going back to the Super Bowl in Arizona. Ari, what do you think?
Yeah, that's kind of funny because that's the exact score that I was kind of thinking, 27-24 Eagles. Yeah, it's definitely going to be close. Obviously it's going to be the toughest, environment that Purdy has played in Philadelphia. My concern with like a yardage prop with him is that like, even though the environment is tough and also the Eagles have a great defense, a lot of his yards come from, dump off short passes to all the Niners weapons, and they do all the work after the catch. And so I think we're going to see, because, the Eagles have one of, if not the best pass rushes in the league. So I think we're going to see a lot of dump offs to McCaffrey, Debo, Kittle, Ayuk, Juwan Jennings, all of them. And then, he's going to have to use his legs a little bit as well, Purdy, to, evade the pass rush. And Hurts is going to have to as well. But, the Niners have struggled at times against mobile quarterbacks this season. So I think Hurts is going to get his, on the ground. And, you mentioned A.J. Brown's over receiving yards is currently at 69.5 from what I'm looking at, which is probably my favorite prop bet in this game. And then I'm not as confident in this one, but I like Goddard's under 4.5 receptions. I think it's going to be just a lot of A.J. Brown and Devontae Smith, on the outside. It's going to be close. Goddard's going to have 2, 3, 4 catches. He's going to be, close to that 5 number. But I think he's catches, between 2 and 4 and goes under 4.5. So those are the two that I like. I was also looking at Hurts' over rushing yards. I think it's at 44.5. I'm not, as confident in that, but I think that's worth a look. With the pass rush probably is going to get to him, in the backfield, and he's going to be able to use his legs and maybe have a couple scrambles for 10 to 15 yards or so. So yeah, that's what I like. But yeah, I'm with you on the Eagles, just barely covering the spread. And yeah, the game I think will go over slightly, by a few points. So now we'll move on to the nightcap, Bengals, Chiefs. Obviously, all the talk all week has been Burrowhead, the Bengals players calling it. Joe Burrow's, 3-0 in his career against Mahomes and the Chiefs. From what it's looking like, it doesn't look like Mahomes' ankle is going to be as much of a problem as initially thought, at least from what we're seeing on videos. Obviously, it'll be a different story, in the game. I think this morning or like an hour ago, I saw that Jonah Williams and Alex Capo were both ruled out, which they were obviously out last week as well. But, the Chiefs were able to get to the Jaguars and Trevor Lawrence last week a lot more than the Bills were able to get to Joe Burrow. So we'll see what kind of pressure the Chiefs can get on Burrow, in the backfield. I think both of these defenses have been super, underrated throughout this playoffs and late in the regular season. Right now, it's the Chiefs 1.5 point favorite, over under sitting at 48 points. Korea, what do you like here in this game?
Yeah, this is look. If I don't like the spread. I don't like the spread. I don't like money line. I really don't know who's going to win this game. Honestly, I don't know who's going to win this game. I mean, you look at Kansas City, right? And the bigger question was coming into this week was how healthy is Patrick Mahomes? And, at first it was like, well, he doesn't look good on Saturday. He's still really hobbling around. He doesn't look like the same, in terms of, how he's doing. He's not like he's that mobile. But then, literally as the week progressed, we saw videos of him either leaving a press conference or whether it's him on the field warming up, practicing, doing whatever he wants to do. That has been kind of the forefront for a lot of, that's just fans out there and bettors because, it looks like he is getting healthy. And I've never seen a line shift so much in 1 week than what I've seen for this game between the Bengals and Chiefs. I mean, there's obviously versus for the AFC Championship, and, it's the rematch of last year. We saw how last year ended with Evan McPherson getting the game-winning field goal to send the Bengals to the AFC to be the AFC champions going into the Super Bowl. We saw, how I believe the Chiefs had a 21-3 lead, and they blew that one, and it was just an ugly finish for the Chiefs to end their season. And all the talk was, now the secondary has looked a lot better as of recently as well, and the defense for the Chiefs has been definitely one of the bigger things that was the downfall. And, now it looks like the Chiefs defense will have to step up against a good offense in Joe Burrow and the Cincinnati Bengals. And look, this is the big thing all week. You mentioned it. It has been, Joe Burrow's beat this quarterback 3 times. And each time has always been my 3. And especially the last 2 times, which happened last year, which is crazy that the scores finished 27-24. I mean, is that a coincidence? Is that a insight of what's going to happen Sunday? I don't know. But I do know it's going to be very cold, obviously. I checked the weather there, and, it's supposed to be like not even 30 degrees and, not snowing or anything, but it's not going to be, the greatest conditions because obviously they have the nightcap. So that'll definitely be interesting to see. But no matter what, I'm taking just this total under. I think this game's going to go under. I believe, Kansas City at home, I feel like they play better at home in terms of whether it's their defense or whatever. I feel like they play better at home, and I believe they are 6-1. I think taking the under in their last 7 home games. So, and then Joe Burrow, I think, and the Bengals in their last, I believe, like 5. I think they're like 6. I think their last 8, they're 6-1-1 with the under in road games. And I feel like just because of the nature of how these defenses stepped up last week, with how the Bengals defense, was pretty much able to get pressure on Josh Allen a lot, and he looked uncomfortable the whole entire game. He didn't look like yes, it was a snow game, and that definitely takes into account, but I just feel like I can't pick a winner because one time I'm like, I feel like Joe Burrow just has Patrick Mahomes' number and he knows how to beat him. But there's other times where I'm thinking like, Mahomes, is he gonna get healthier? And maybe it's like a little bit of a revenge arc that that he has to potentially have against the guy who has knocked him out of the playoffs last year and already beat him this past season. And this is the 3rd time's the charm in the past year, and I've been really looking forward to this. I mean, obviously, the Kansas City Chiefs and the Cincinnati Bengals, these are 2 of the top 3 teams in the AFC, and in a pretty loaded AFC conference now that has so many talented, whether it's quarterbacks, running backs, receivers, whatever you want to name it. So I'm taking the full under. I think this is going to be a pretty low scoring game, kind of more defensive heavy. I like to see, the Chiefs use a lot more clock, maybe establish a run game with Pacheco. I feel like that's been working for him and the Chiefs as of late, especially with Mahomes' injury. We don't know what the severity of that is, and I feel like that's what this Chiefs team will do. And I feel like Joe Mixon's going to have a lot of say for the Bengals. I feel like they will potentially be using the clock as well, especially with Mixon, because the Chiefs run game is not the greatest. It can be one play, and I believe there was one run last week where ETN just broke it out. I believe against the Chiefs last week, and I feel like Joe Mixon's definitely going to have that ability with his pound and ground nature. So I'm taking the total under. I think this is going to be a fun game, but I think it's going to be low scoring. I'm taking. See, I could say the Chiefs today, but I could say the Bengals tomorrow. Damn. You know what? For now, I'm going to say I'll go with the Bengals. I think the Bengals are going to win 24-20. I feel like this could be, the Chiefs, try to drive and then they can't run, they can't do it, or turnover late, or maybe a Joe Burrow, last second drive, they're down 20-17, they take the lead. But I'm taking the total under. If I'm going to the casino, I'm taking the total under. I don't think this game is going to be very high scoring. I'm also taking Pacheco's rushing and receiving yards. I like just what he's going to be doing. I feel like he's going to be a big part of their offense. And if Mahomes, is getting pass rush, they'll just dump it down to Pacheco and he can do the rest if Kelsey's not open or whatever. And then I'm taking Joe Mixon's over in rushing yards. I believe his is at 58.5. I feel like Joe Mixon can just break it out for either a big run, or he'll be kind of the focal point of this offense tomorrow, on Sunday. Wow. Against this Chiefs team that, has done a better job, but not a great job of stopping the run. I know they're kind of near the bottom in terms of rush yards. So that's why I'm taking Joe Mixon's over. I'm also taking Isaiah Pacheco's, his at 57.5 in terms of rushing and receiving. And then I'm taking the total under. I think this is going to be obviously the game of the year. just in terms of how these two teams match up, in terms of their defense. And, a crazy stat that I saw is, the number one total offense in the NFL has not made the Super Bowl, I believe, since like the 2009 Saints. And the number on offense in the NFL is the Kansas City Chiefs. So is the trend going to continue? I don't know. But I think the Bengals will just do just enough to complete the season sweep of the Cincinnati Chiefs to go face Jalen Hurts in the
The
Super
Kansas
Bowl.
City Chiefs.
Oh yeah, I'm sick, people. My brain's gone, but I do think Burrow will do enough for the Bengals. I think this is going to be a really exciting game. I honestly think that even with Mahomes, say Mahomes is fully healthy, I don't know if he actually can do it with his full status. But I'm taking the full under. I think the Bengals are going to have a slight win, 24-20, to go on to the Super Bowl. And I think what should be one of the more exciting matchups between the Bengals and Eagles, if that is the Super Bowl in Arizona this year. But I think the Bengals do just enough. Ari?
Yeah, obviously it's going to be, or we assume it's going to be another great game between these two teams. I'm with you on the under. I think, the public just looks at Mahomes, Burrow, these two offenses, all of that, and just automatically goes, to the over. But yeah, I like the under slightly here. I'm going 24-20 Chiefs. So I like Mahomes to get, his first win against Burrow and the Bengals here. I think the Chiefs defense have heard all week of Burrow, all of this, and I think that they're gonna, the Bengals offensive line, it didn't look banged up last week, but I think the Chiefs passers will be able to do more, or a lot more than what the Bills did last week. But yeah, I mean, I think it's obviously going to be a one possession, close game. I think that comes down to, a late drive, whether that be a game-winning drive for the Chiefs or the Chiefs defense holds the Bengals offense in the last second. One of those two ways. A few props I posted about yesterday. I like Samaje Perine over 13.5 receiving yards. Last week he caught 5 for, I think he was like 5 for 31 last against the Bills. The Bengals seem to like him in pass protection, so that gives him more snaps. And then obviously, like I said, the Bengals offensive line is still banged up, so that will lead to some more dump offs to Perine or Perine. I don't know which way you should say it, but all of that. And then I liked Pacheco over 11.5 rush attempts because, like you said, I think the Chiefs do look to establish a run game early in this one. That worked for them last week, and I think they look to do the same this week. So I think 3 carries each quarter isn't too much to ask for from Pacheco for like 12. I mean, he had 12 last week, and McKinnon had 11. I don't know if McKinnon sees 11, so you take away a few of his, give it to Pacheco. I think he could have 13 to 15 or so roughly in this game. So I like that. And I like McPherson's over 6.5 kicking points, meaning a field goal is obviously 3 points, extra points 1. My prediction is 24-20, so 20 points for the Bengals. So that's obviously 2 touchdowns, 2 field goals, so that would be 8 points. So I like that. Over 6.5 kicking points from McPherson. I think the Bengals, obviously they move the ball, but the Chiefs have a good enough defense to, I think, stop them to a couple of field goal attempts. And then the Bengals will find the end zone, of course. So those are the few props I liked in that game. So yeah, is there anything else you wanted to add about these 2 games, Carew?
Yeah, I mean, obviously this is going to be, like I said, I said the Bengals today, I could take the Chiefs tomorrow. I still don't know who's going to win this game. But I know that this is definitely going to be, one of the more intriguing matchups for both games. I saw like a TikTok the other day that said, I believe, for the Super Bowl odds for every single possibility, and I said that every single possibility is a 1-point spread, which is actually crazy. That just shows you that whoever makes it, whoever makes it and goes on to the Super Bowl, that it's going to be a close matchup either way. I think the largest spread was 1.5, and it was the Bengals plus 1.5 against the Eagles. So, but everyone else is a 1-point spread, which is crazy. So, I'm just excited for a fun matchup. I'm intrigued to see what the Chiefs do to respond to all that Burrowhead nonsense that I believe Eli Apple and that secondary of the Bengals has just been kind of putting on social media, and how Eli Apple has just been talking so much. Oh my goodness, he's been talking so much.
He's been talking like they won the Super Bowl already.
Exactly, and I mean, like, I get it, like, you beat the Bills, but I mean, the Bills haven't even made it to the Super Bowl in this whole Josh Allen era. But anyway, that's beside the point. I think this is going to be definitely a fun weekend. All starts at, I believe, 12 Pacific, with the Niners and Eagles in Philadelphia, and then later in the afternoon, Bengals and Chiefs in Kansas City. And I'm excited to see who makes it to the Super Bowl, and hopefully not the 49ers. Just because of personal reasons. But, it's definitely going to be two great games. Definitely a memorable NFC championship weekend for Super Bowl, I believe. What is this, 58 now? It's crazy.
Yeah, for sure. So thank you all for tuning in. We'll be back early next week to recap the championship games. And next week, I think we'll probably start getting into more NBA, college basketball, and other sports that are going on as we, conclude the NFL season, in a few weeks, or I guess a couple weeks after this weekend with the Super Bowl. So thank you all for tuning in. We hope you all have a great weekend. Please be sure to leave a like on the video, subscribe if you guys haven't already, and we will catch you all next week.